Hi, this is Laurie Sherrod with CCIT's Teaching and Learning. Welcome to today's Tech Talk. Today's topic is going to be PowerPoint Animations. We're going to show how you can add motion to your PowerPoint. Now, last week in our Tech Talk, we talked about turning your PowerPoint into a YouTube video, and this is a perfect follow-up to that because if you've got a PowerPoint with a lot of motion, it turns into a very nice video. So we'll also save the file that we create today as a video file. Okay. If you are still running an older version of Microsoft Office than Office 2010, we will be demonstrating today using PowerPoint 2010. So there may be some features or differences in the way the features are handled in PowerPoint 2010. Keep in mind that it is possible to upgrade your Office to 2010 by going out to download.clemson.edu to download the new version. You should, of course, remove your old Office. If you've got Office 2007 still on your computer, you should uninstall that before installing Office 2010. And keep in mind it does not affect your data in any way. Your data will still be the same. If you are faculty or staff in a computer that is managed by a technical support provider, you'd need to talk to them before you did that. But students are welcome to do that on their own. Okay, animations in PowerPoint can be attached to any element, text, photo, clip art, any kind of element on your PowerPoint slide can be made to move. We're going to be talking about custom animations, where you do things depending on how you want them to move, timings, and finally we're going to save our PowerPoint as a video file which could potentially be uploaded to YouTube and shared on a web page or through Blackboard. Okay, I'm going to stop right now and I am going to share my screen with you. And let's see here. All right, I'm going to open PowerPoint. All right, I am going to make a very simple little 3-slide PowerPoint just to demonstrate the capabilities of animations. And from just the features I'll show you, you could do all kinds of interesting things with your PowerPoint. All right, first of all, I am on just a blank slide, and I'm going to give a title. I'll call it Animations. And I'm going to give it a subtitle. I'm going to put by Laurie Sherrod. Okay, I'm going to go back to my main title, and you'll notice across the top of the screen on your tabs, on your PowerPoint, there's an Animations tab. And if you click on the Animations tab, you see a couple of animations. And if you hover over these animations, you will see what would happen if you were to select that animation to the currently selected item, which is that title, Animations. Now, there are more than what we can see, and I'm working on a fairly small screen. If you're on a bigger screen, you're going to see more choices than what we see right here. But if I come down here to this little down arrow, I can see that the animations are in 3 or 4 classifications. There's entrance animations, emphasis animations, exit effects, and motion paths. And if I kind of scroll this little scroll bar down, I can see all of the choices. Now, for this main title, I am going to use turn and grow, or grow and turn. See what that does. Notice it made a little 1 beside it when I selected it, and that's just going to be an indicator that that item has an animation attached, and it's going to happen first after we start this slide. Another thing that I like to keep going when I'm working with animations is you'll notice up here there's an item called Animation Pane. If you click on Animation Pane, you're going to get a little pane on the side that helps you with seeing exactly what's going on with the animations in your slide. Okay, I'm going to click on the second item, which is just my name. It's my subtitle. And this time I would like to use an exit animation. And if I scroll my little scroll bar down, I'll see my exit animations, and I've decided to use bounce. That one makes my name just bounce right off the screen. Now, it gave me a little preview as I selected it, and there's two other ways you can get a little preview. One is there's a play button right here. It shows me boink. And then there is a preview button right up here, just basically the same thing. Now, what if I decided that rather than having first the animations effect happen and then the subtitle effect happen, I'd like for them to happen at the same time. Now currently I have the second one selected. I can tell by the selection box over here. But if I look up here at the top, there are some choices. One is start. And if I click beside start, the choices are when someone's actually playing this PowerPoint, they're going to have to touch a key to make that happen. In fact, that is the default. For each thing you add to your PowerPoint, you're going to have to touch a key, whether it's a new page or new animations. You're going to have to touch a key or a mouse to make the next thing happen. But if you'd like for the two things to happen at the same time, there is a choice with previous. The previous in this case would have been that animations turn and grow. So now I'm going to make it so that the bounce happens at the same time. Now if I try the play button, see they happen at the same time. Now I've noticed that bouncing seems to me is happening kind of fast. I find it a little annoying if I look at real jerky movements. So I'm going to make that last a little bit longer. I'm going to make that 4 seconds instead of 2 seconds. Now you'll notice the animations is set to 1 second, and now the bouncing is 4 seconds. So let's see how that looks. That's a little bit slow. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change that to 3 seconds. So you can change the timing just by clicking on the time at the top. And let's see if I'm happier with that one. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm all right with that one. Now another thing that's going to happen is if I play my slideshow right now, you'll notice the animations is set to OnClick. In fact, let me play the slideshow, and I'll have to just tell you what I'm doing because you won't be able to see this for sure. But you'll notice right now I haven't touched any key on the keyboard. I'm going to have to touch a key or click a mouse to make this thing get started. And in many cases, that is exactly what you want. But sometimes you'd like for it to start automatically. Maybe you want to stand in the back of the room talking while it's happening. So an option is on the very first item to make it not on click. It doesn't matter whether it's with previous or after previous, since there is no previous thing. It's the very first thing that's happening. I'm going to make mine after previous. Now, if I play it, I didn't touch a thing. It just started happening. All right. One more thing. My PowerPoint looks kind of plain right now. If I come up here to Design and go to Background Styles, I'm going to give it that one. Now I could use one of these themes, but that's going to be a little fussy for what I'm getting ready to do in the second and third slides. I'd like a kind of a plain background. Okay, now I'm ready for a second or third slide, and there is on the Home tab a new slide option. Another option is I can right-click and select New Slide. And I noticed that by default it's putting a title and a choice of some objects. I'd like for it to be just a plain slide, so I'm going to right-click and go to Layout and say Blank, because I just want a blank slate. And I actually want two. I've got number 2 selected. If I press the Enter key, it gives me a third one. So now I've got 3 slides to work with. Now again, for this real simple little project, on the second slide, I would like to use some of the built-in shapes. So I'm going to click on Insert, and you'll see the Shapes option. If you click on that, you'll see all of these interesting shapes that you can stick on your PowerPoint. So if you're trying to demonstrate something, in many cases, one of these shapes will do the trick. I'm going to pick a star. I'm going to drag it pretty big and put it kind of in the middle of my page. Now when you do select one of these shapes, you may see a little diamond in there, and that is an indicator that you can change shape of the shape. So you definitely have one on a star. The other thing is I would like for my star to be orange. So I'm going to click up here. You see it's selected. Under Drawing Tools, there's the format. And then I've got all of these shapes. And I'm going to pick the format orange. Okay. I would like to add an additional shape for this particular example. And let's see, shapes. I'm going to pick a circle. Now you might have seen it looked kind of like an oval, but you can drag it any shape you want. I'm going to kind of center it over my star. And I want the format of that one to be purple. So I've got a slightly Clemson-y looking couple of shapes. Okay, now I want some motion to happen with my star and my circle. So I'm going to first do the star, let it be the first thing that happens. So I'm going to come back up here to Animations, and I still have my animation pane, but there are no animations yet on this slide. This is only by slide. And the animation I want on my star is called Swivel. So I'm going to click on my little down arrow so I can see them all, and there it is, Swivel. You see what Swivel does. It turns my star around and around. I got a little 1 indicating that it's the first thing that's happening. And it is currently on click. I am going to change it to after previous. Whatever happened before this, start this right away. Notice when I do that, it changes to a 0, indicating that it's with a previous item. All right, now I'm going to click on my circle. And if I look at all of my animation choices, I could make it do one of these things and actually hover over them to see what happened. But in this case, what I would like is I would like for my circle to have a path around my star. I'd like for it to just kind of roll around the star. So in order to do that, there is a category of animations called motion paths, and one of them is shapes. And if I click on shapes, look what happens. My little circle goes in a circle. Well, what I want for it to happen is I want my little circle to go in a circle all the way around my star. And right now it's in a smaller circle, but you can actually change the shape and size of your circle by dragging. And then I can hover over it till I have this cross, and I can make it so that my motion path, my circular motion path, completely surrounds that star. Okay, now I've got it surrounding the star, and if I click play, there goes my swivel, and there goes my motion path. Now, what if, just like in the previous slide, I want those things to happen at the same time instead of one right after the other? I can, it's called oval, but it's the circle. I can change that from on click to with previous. Now if I do play, they're going to happen at the same time. So you have all kinds of flexibility. And again, you could change the timing if it was going too fast or too slow for you. All right, so we're finished with this slide. We're going to move down to the third slide. And on the third slide, we're going to do something a little more extensive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a beach scene with a sailboat that's going to float across the water. I'm going to have a seagull and the sun. All right, to accomplish that, there are a lot of ways you could do this, but I'm going to insert, and you'll notice that you can insert a picture. So if you get a picture for what you want, that works fine. Or there's some clip art. Now, if you've used clip art in older versions of Microsoft Office, it was not that great. You could see some kind of not wonderful clip art, but this is nice. You've got all kinds of options, especially if you have this little check mark beside use the online office content. And if you go to the little arrow beside all media types, you'll notice it's going to look for illustrations, photographs, videos, and audio. Okay. Now for the background for my picture, I want to do the background first. I found one I like. You could type in ocean, and it would come out with a whole lot of results very quickly. And a lot of these were rough oceans, and I wanted a calm one. So I found one I liked, and it was called Calm Ocean. There's several of them with this name, but this helps me narrow it down. And there it is. I don't want the rainbow one. I want just the plain old calm ocean. And you'll notice that it's in a square shape, but I want it to fill up my whole screen, so it's easy to drag it out and make it the size of your screen. Type of picture that it doesn't matter if it's not perfectly aligned. Okay. All right, so there's my ocean. And next I want to find a sailboat. And again, when I just typed in sailboat, I found tons, but the one I liked was called small sailboat. And again, there are a few called small sailboat. Now, looking through these sailboat options, the first two, you'll notice they've got a background on them, so that's not going to work as well for my project. So you can almost always find, if you're looking for something as common as a sailboat, a graphic that has no background. And here's the one I found with no background. So I've clicked it, and I don't want it in the sky. I want it down in the water. And I'm going to make it a little bigger so we can see it better. All right, there we go. So there's my sailboat. And again, what I want is I want my sailboat to float across the ocean. All right. To work some more on my picture, I found a bird I wanted, and it had several options of names. It was in several categories, and it was under the gull category. So let's see if I can find it. I don't like any of these I've seen so far because they've got backgrounds. I want a nice plain one. There it is, with no background. With a clear background, I guess. All right, and I'm going to have him start out over here, and I'm going to have him fly. Maybe he's a little bit too big. I'm going to have him fly the other direction from the boat. And finally, I want a sun. And again, the first one's got a little background. Let me see if I can find one with no background that I like. I think I want that one. And again, I'm going to make that a bunch smaller. I'll put it right up in here somewhere. All right, so I've got all my pictures, so I'm going to close out my clip art pane. I'm going to leave my animation pane because I really probably will need it for this. Okay, now again, I want the boat to go across the water. So I'm going to click on the boat. I'm going to click on Animations. And I'm going to click on the little down arrow and scroll down to my motion path. Now, I could make it go in a straight line, but that's not very realistic. What I really want is I want it to go in a kind of a wavy line. So I'm going to pick Custom so I can draw my own little wavy line. Now I've got a crosshair cursor, and I can just draw. It turns into a pencil as I push down my left mouse button. All right, so I made it kind of a wavy line. Now, one thing I definitely do not like about this is it's kind of fast. I would want it to be a lot slower, and it looks like it's going off the screen, so I'm going to drag it. Oh. I believe I've attached it to the background instead of the boat, so I'm going to unclick it and do it again. Animations, motion path, custom path. Okay, I'm going to do it again. All right, there you go. Now, one thing I don't like is my sailboat is kind of low. I want it to be high, closer to the horizon. So I can hover over it till I have my crosshair cursor, and I can drag it up. Now, let's see. Another thing I don't like is it's going way too fast. So I'm going to slow it down. So I'll do that by changing the duration to 2. But I'm going to leave it at 2 seconds right now. I'm going to change that to a bigger number later. So for testing purposes, things will go a little quicker. The other thing is it is currently on click. I want it to happen after previous. So I won't have to touch a button for this to start. Now that's, again, totally up to you whether you want to touch something. The next thing I want to do is I want my seagull, and I want him to fly the opposite direction. So I'm going to come back down here again. I'm going to pick my custom path. I've got my crosshair cursor, and I am going to make a little path for him to go. So there's my bird. Now right now, I've got my bird as on click. If I wanted my bird and my boat to go at the same time, I could select with previous. And now if I do play, They go at the same time. They go really fast, but they go at the same time. The last thing I want is I want my sun to float, to move. So I'm going to come down here, and this time, instead of using the custom path, which you may have noticed is a little hard to keep still, I want a straight line for my sun's movement. So I'm going to click on the lines, and look what happened. My sun falls straight down by default. But I've got this little red arrow head, and I can drag that wherever I want. So if I want my sun to go right like that. Now, this has made a third option. The first two are zeros because they're happening at the same time. The third one is a 1. But guess what? I want it to happen at the same time too. So I'm going to make that also with previous. So now they're all 3 zeros. Now if I click play, all 3 happen at the same time. But the last thing is I want them to all happen a lot slower. So I've got my sun highlighted. I'm going to make it take 10 seconds. And then I'm going to highlight my bird. I'm going to make him go 10 seconds. And then I am going to highlight my boat. I'm going to make that go 10 seconds. Now, if I do the play, let's see. Oh yes, I like that a whole lot better than the 2 seconds. All right, one more thing, I would like to have an audio background. Now, we talked a little about this last week, but if you click on Insert and the little arrow below Audio, last week we did Insert Audio from File, and I showed how you could record your own audio if you have a microphone built into your computer. But this week we're going to pick clip art audio because just like the clip art photos, there's some pretty good clip art audio. It's improved. I mean, there's silly little things like clap, cheers, and telephone, and I'm sure you've heard people use those in PowerPoints. But for this one, I found one that I thought would work well. It's called Ocean Ambience. And there it is. Now notice when you click on it, it does take a minute because it's downloading it from office.com. I see my little twirling circle to let me know it's downloading it. Okay, I'm going to close that out. Now, on my audio, there's a couple of things. First of all, on playback, just like we talked about last week, if I don't want that little thing to show, I can hide it. That only hides it when showing the presentation. And if I wanted to start on click, I can leave that alone. But if I wanted to start automatically on this slide only, I can click automatically. If I said play across slides and there were more slides after this one, it would keep playing. But in this case, we only want it to be automatically. One last thing. The way it is right now, if someone pulled up this slide, first you'd see all that movement, and then you'd start hearing the music because it's last, or the audio. So what I want is I want it to happen first. So I'm going to drag it up to the very top. So you can drag things around down here. And now, if I play the slide, let's see what happens. Well, it looks like it's still trying to play the thing all as we do the rest of the stuff. So let's click on the first item here, picture 3, and the animations, and see if we can figure out why. Aha! It says start after previous.